And we're live.
With Paranormal Spirits, a place we come to get our booze on. We talk about the booze, the things that go bump in the night. And I get to do that with all my booze. I'm Mike Black. To my left, my beautiful and talented wife, Alyssa Black.
Hello.
Sitting across from me, the lovely and talented John Burkett.
Hola, bienvenidos.
Bienvenidos.
Hola, amigos.
So, John, tell us about the wonderful, tasty, delicious liquor that we're drinking tonight, you and I.
This is Henry McKenna 10-year bottled in bond. Bottled on March 20th, 2014.
So a 10-year-old.
Oh, barreled in. I'm sorry. Barreled in 2014. It's good stuff.
It's good.
Pretty rare. These are hard to find bottles. These are unicorns. We just happen to stumble some at a good price. So
it is good.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me, it's very similar to Wild Turkey Rare Breed.
It doesn't taste as like it has that much rye in the mash bill to me, but
a little more corn.
I don't even know. It may be the same as like the Heaven Hill, because this is Heaven Hill Distillery, that Heaven Hill bottled in bond that I buy. That's kind of my standard daily driver. But it wasn't that much more than that, but it's 3 years older.
Yeah.
It's good. It's been about 4 years since I had a bottle of that. I hadn't seen it anywhere on a shelf anywhere in a long time, so pleasantly surprised to see it.
I'm not drinking that.
So, Alyssa, what are you imbibing on tonight?
Tullamore Irish whiskey.
Which is one of my favorite Irish.
It's not my favorite, but it's okay.
I don't hate
Tastes
it.
better than Green Spot.
There's not a lot that doesn't taste better than Green Spot.
That was such a lot. I know. I saw that in the back end and I was like, nope.
I so let down with Green Spot.
Tastes
'cause
better
I wanted it to
patties.
taste better.
Did we try any other spots?
No.
They had Blue Spot up there at the liquor store.
I don't want to try any more spots with green tasting so.
No, it was, well,
They had Blue locked up behind the counter.
It's a little bit cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
After the green, it gets
Yeah, after the green, it gets
ridiculous.
hard to spend that kind of money on liquor. It's expensive, I think, for what it is.
There's some stupid expensive stuff in that case behind the counter. $300 bottles of tequila, just Scotch, even way more expensive than that. But
Well, it's interesting because I think through this whole process we've determined that there are so many different kinds of tequilas and such that we found some really good ones that are not those upper echelon.
Yeah, we've been really on a tequila journey for the last over a year.
there's a lot of good stuff in the $40 to $60 bottle range.
There really is. And even with Matthew McConaughey's Tequila Pantalones, like you would think that was more of the celebrity kind, but it really wasn't. It was really good. Very the organic flavor, you could taste the agave, like it was really good. So it's nice to kind of, and like some of the ones that were so great, like Fortaleza and all of that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
My bottle of Fortaleza at the house has been pretty good. Like,
Has it?
I guess maybe it's different batches, or maybe it's, I don't know.
We just I don't think any of us were impressed.
Maybe it's because I paid retail for it. That makes it
No
taste
doubt.
that much
That
sweeter.
could have
sure
been, that could have been it. But, I just didn't really love the flavor.
And like my favorite is only,
Your Tequila Ocho?
yeah, it's like
$45, I think, for
$45
for
for a bottle, and that is
$50.
That is a really good tequila.
And G4 is what, 60?
G4 is
G4 is
50
about
for the Blanco.
Yeah, about 40 something.
Yeah, it's
And that one's good too.
$49.99
If you can
currently.
get it, if you can get it retail. I mean, let's be real, because like
They got it all the time.
they have it, but like if you go to Dallas, the
We
big
had a
liquor
hard time
stores,
finding that.
it's gone
Really?
the moment they put it on the shelves. Yeah,
They got cases of it and the Reposado up at Coffee City. But that
Did
one,
they?
Yeah.
Here. I will say,
At retail.
Clase Azul, it's a good tequila. It's got a beautiful bottle. I will not take that away from it. But once you go the organic route and like the agaves and all of that, you can really taste the artificialness in Clase, the additives.
well, here's the problem with Clase Azul for me, is that when you and I started drinking Clase Azul, it was about $100 a bottle. You could find it for $100 or $120.
Blanco was $89.
Yeah.
Not
it was
anymore.
It was like $100, $120 for a reposado.
Well, first it was $99.99, and then it went up to $120, and we were like, And now I think you looked yesterday, it was $175.
About $180, yeah.
Yeah, it's about $180 now for a bottle. And I'm like, I'm not paying that. First of all, it's not that good, in my opinion.
It is good, but it depends on how you, like, we had it and we loved it. But then when we went down, here's the thing, the caveat to that, though, is that we went down the organic route.
Well,
the non-additive version, not intentionally.
Non-additive.
I mean, I guess it's not necessarily organic. It's just not the non-additive, and not intentionally.
No.
We got on and found this dude that was talking about all these different kinds that he tried, and he rated them, and we decided to go down that route, and he just happened to be a non-additive.
I tell you what, the ones that the Don Fulano, I really like it. They don't have the Blanco here. They have it at Coffee City. It's $50. It's the same price as G4, and it's really good. And I noticed last time I was at Coffee City, they had that Cascanes that he's always raving about.
See, we talked about Cascanes yesterday because we've never tried it, and I'd like to try that.
Yeah, it's $65 for the Blanco. It's expensive.
But if it's
I was like, oh, Cascanes, and then I saw the price. I was like, damn, Luis, what the hell?
It's still cheaper than some of the things we've had.
Yeah. Way. But I think that, on our journey that we've been on with different tequilas and stuff, that we have found that what we liked at first, was that like the Clase Azul with the sweeteners in it and whatever that vanilla flavor or whatever it has. But then as we, explored more tequilas that were just no additives and you're just getting the agave flavor from it, and we found that we like that better. And it's like, so when you do that, then you can start exploring, tequilas that don't cost nearly as much as the quote unquote, and I'm throwing up air quotes, popular tequilas.
Premium.
Yeah, premium.
I mean, let's be honest. Some people they're just like clothes. Some people are going to drink certain tequilas because that's what everybody's drinking, and that's like the rage.
And the bottle.
And the bottle is really, and Clase that's half the thing is the bottle.
Well, that's a lot of tequilas. If you notice, they have the decorative bottles and stuff like that.
Did you see the one I showed you tonight at the liquor store that looked like a ghost?
Yeah.
It looked like on the Ghost Energy drinks, that Ghost.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's a reposado tequila, but it's terrible, and you'd be paying your $55 for the bottle.
$50 for the bottle
55.
and $5. No, I'm saying $50 for the bottle and $5 for the tequila.
Juice inside. Yeah.
I will say though,
it would look good though. Like if we still had cameras in here, it would look good.
Sure. Absolutely.
It'd be a cool little. The thing is, too, Clase is good. And let's be honest, your favorite one that you've ever had is a Clase Azul. It is completely cost prohibitive, but
that is true. But it's $1,700 a bottle,
right? But we have been able to try it, and we did like it. And really, it is one of those that is a beautiful bottle, and it is a good tequila. If somebody said you want a shot of Clase Azul, I would not throw up in my mouth and go, ew, no. I like it. It's
I wouldn't
just,
turn my nose up at it, but
we've had better, and it is.
Was that you or Taz?
It's good.
What? No, I have not expelled gas over here. That is Taz. Taz is John's dog laying up underneath his feet, who is...
Frenchies are a little gassy.
Yeah, like the Pope's a little Catholic.
Are we going to go straight into the story, or you want to talk about where you can find us?
We can talk about where we can find us. If you want to see us on YouTube, you can go to 3B Paranormal Spirits. And if you want to see us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, or I guess X. I keep saying Twitter. It'll always be Twitter to me. X, then it's paranormal _DASH_spirits. If you want to check us out for the podcast itself and you're actually hearing this on YouTube, you can go to paranormal-spirits.com, and it's got the links for everything on there so you can find us. So tonight, we have talked a lot about what?
I'll do it.
What?
Talking about tequilas.
Yeah.
It's a good segue.
It is a good segue because...
There is a tequila that I have wanted to try for a very long time after we had our little tequila bar experience in San Antonio. And it is called Tears of La Llorona.
You'll be crying after you pay it for...
Exactly. Talk about cost prohibitive. And very hard to find. Yeah, and it's just hard to find.
They have it at Coffee City. I think it's like $280, something like that.
Well, if I ever, get into some money and decide I would like to. But La Llorona is actually, there's a reason why it's called Tears of La Llorona. It's an actual legend from Latin America, Mexican Latin America area, primarily in Mexico, actually. And I thought we could talk about her.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know anything about her?
Only that it was. Is this a rhetorical question, or you really want me to say what I know?
No. Do you know anything about her?
I know that La Llorona is a woman who drowned her children, and then now, as a spirit or demon or whatever she became, she tries to draw in children away from their family and take them.
The tequila is called the Tears of La Llorona because that actually...
She's weeping.
Yes, it means a weeping woman in Spanish. It is... you're right. She is a what could be called a vengeful ghost whose legend is popular, especially during Dia de los Muertos, or November the 1st, because, that's when they all come out. But, so Llorona is actually also means crybaby.
Really?
Without the la. But when you put the La Llorona, it's actually like a formal term for the weeping woman.
It also means the crybaby.
Or the crybaby, yes. The legend dates back to Mexico City in 1550, actually.
They date it back that far?
Yeah,
wow.
That's one of the first stories of it. But it actually probably has ties to Aztec mythology, which, Mexico, Latin America, Central America, a lot of Aztec, Mayan history, temples, things like that. But the mythology behind it is involving Chihuacotl, the Aztec goddess of motherhood, who abandoned her son at a crossroads and often returns to the site to weep. And she's also referenced in a 16th century research study in Mesoamerica that's called the Florentine Codex, but she's referred to as a demon in that one. The common legend states that a woman named Maria flew into a jealous rage after seeing her husband with another woman and subsequently drowned her 2 children in a river.
Showed his ass.
She immediately regrets her decision and drowns herself, but remains in purgatory searching for her children and unable to pass on to the afterlife. Some legends state she is looking for children to claim as her own for eternity. Because a lot of the legends say that she can't go into the afterlife until she finds her children, but she can never find her children. There's another legend that says the same woman had 2 illegitimate...
Because they run and hide from her? Because the bitch drowned their ass last time.
I mean... There's another legend that says the same woman, but it has 2 illegitimate children, and that she drowns them so that the husband does not take her children. He decides to leave her for another woman, and she doesn't want the husband to take her children for the new woman to raise, so she drowns them.
Oh.
That's another variant of that.
Showed her ass.
And then there's many versions. There's another version that still Maria. Mm-hmm. Her neglected sons drowned accidentally while she was cavorting with gentlemen callers. She was
a hussy.
Forever after, Maria's ghost, now...
She was a hoa.
Maria's ghost, now La Llorona, is forced to wander the earth searching for her lost sons. She can be identified by her loud, wailing cries, mis hijos, ¿dónde están mis hijos? Which means, my sons, where are my sons? She's said to mourn near bodies of water, where her wails and weeping are heard at night, and are said to be warnings to children who are out late to return home and not go out at nightly by bodies of water. So the whole thing, if you, people of Mexican background that either they grew up in Mexico or their family is, it was said to be a scare tactic that grandmas and moms would tell kids, so that, because there's lots of rivers. Yeah. There's lots of rivers and canals and things in Mexico, so that was trying to keep them away from that. She is said to be a desperate and malevolent spirit. She's said to act without mercy, often drowning the children she has found or kidnapped when she realizes they are not her sons. So she's rumored to, if she's walking, she floats, and if she finds children, that she'll kidnap them, and then she'll try to drown them when she realizes those aren't her kids. Some traditions hold that she'll begin to seduce a lone man and then murder him as a form of revenge for her husband's abuse or adultery. And then while others have her killing, there's some that would say she kills men, women, and children indiscriminately. So she's just a baddie. Mm-hmm.
So she takes it out on all the other men because of her husband.
Sounds like
I
my
dated
ex-wife. All paying for the sins of her father.
Right? I know her.
That's awful. One of the Aztec mythology stories also is it was a writing from Fray Diego Duran, one of Spanish evangelists who realized that the Aztec emperor Montezuma II was worried about the dreams that announced the end of his reign. He was told of stories of nocturnal pedestrians who claimed to have seen a woman cry and lament, and he asked them to explain why she was in pain and what she wanted to say to him. The appearance of the female manifested itself in Lake Texcoco, which was located in the legendary capital of the Aztec Empire, Tenochtitlan.
Tenochtitlan. Oh, shit.
Other denominations that were given to this woman is that of Mala Madre, or Bad Mother. According to the Mexican historian Efrain Franco Frias, at the time of the colony, 1521 to 1821. So we're still way back. The story began to spread that La Llorona was an indigenous woman known as Malinche, who became a lover of the conqueror Hernan Cortez. Cortez took the son away from his mother. They had a kid. And when he returned to Spain, she did nothing to prevent it. Malinche, or traitor, was seen by the natives as the personification of betrayal as a result of losing her son without acting. Among the Aztec people, this represents one of gloomy motherhood, becoming a symbol of mistreatment and degrading parenting after she gave her son to Cortez and never saw him again. So there's a lot of... She's basically just a really bad mom. And she's wailing about because she misses her children. There's also said to be similarities between Greek mythology and this story. The story of La Llorona is thought to be a telling of Zeus's infidelity when he cheated on his wife Hera with Lamia. Outraged, Hera then turned... Is it Lamia? Into a monster that devours her...
All Greek to me. I don't know.
Oh, knee slapper. Outraged, Hera then turned Lamia into a monster that devours her own children and is then forced to walk the earth and eat every child she finds. So
that does sound very similar.
There's also a story in German mythology called the White Ladies. White lady ghosts that haunt castles and are thought to be harbingers of misfortune and death. One legend says there was a countess who murdered her 2 children because she believed that by doing so she could marry Albert of Nuremberg, who married Sophie. And then this lady ends up becoming a nun and dying in a monastery. But she killed her kids to be with the king, who didn't even want to be with her. Then there's another poet that names La Llorona as a ghost of Rosalie, a woman murdered by her husband. As a whole, she's shown in different forms. Typically wears a white dress. It's wet, like she comes out of the water, and she wails at night. She sometimes is seen as a siren who tempts men late at night. She is seen at a distance, roaming about, and is not harmful, but a meeting with her is dangerous.
So could this be part of where the Lady of the Lake comes from? Is it a similar...
That's from Arthurian legend.
Yes,
she's the one
that white lady in white.
Lady in white
comes out of the
lake. She's wet. You know,
she's trying to pursue you typically, and if you look upon her, you die. Or
she wants a ride. You put her in the back of the car, and
you take her, and then the husband, and so the taxi driver takes her home, and then and when she doesn't come back to pay him, he goes to the door, and then the guy says, "Well, that's my wife died years ago."
Yeah. We've heard different
variations of
iterations of this, but. So sometimes she's seen at a distance roaming about and she's not harmful, but a meeting with her is dangerous. She sometimes will pursue you, and then you are left to flee towards home, but you can hear her behind you running her feet and hear her screaming or wailing.
That would actually scare the living shit out of me. If I were running from some woman and she's chasing me and I hear her feet slapping on the floor, or on the road, chasing after me, screaming, oh my God.
Well, here's the thing that I thought was quite interesting is that when she's far away, her wails seem close. And if her wails are far away, she's closer to you.
So if it sounds far away, she's
right outside close. Your window.
Ugh.
And if they sound close, she's really far away.
Ugh.
That's like the typical report. She's also seen riding a horse, sometimes appears in a horse-drawn carriage or in your car.
In your car.
Lady of the Lake.
Yep, in your car. Sometimes she appears as a sad old woman hiding under a white shawl or a rebozo. But for those who take pity on her, she reveals herself as a skeleton or a metallic horse head.
What?
With or without a face. So I'm going to tell you the story about La Segua, and this is kind of La Segua, but some places have reported they kind of tied them both in together. So, some legends state that those who hear her mournful cry will have an unsuccessful life, misfortune, and or death. And it is said that
death is usually misfortunate, yeah.
It says that she can sometimes be summoned in a seance-like environment. So it's not just she's just randomly showing up. So regionally, the stories U.S. told to scare children into good behavior and to stay away from playing around water. It's said that she is not only seen in the Mexican area in Latin America, but that she has also been seen in Texas and California. And it's rumored to be in sometimes New Mexico, Arizona, because that was all Mexico at one point.
Right.
So when she was first told to happen in 1500, this was all still Mexico. Mm-hmm. So
it was Spain, actually.
Well, what later became Mexico. So there are many stories about different encounters with La Llorona. In 1968, an American folklorist, Bess Lomax Hawes, published an article, La Llorona in Juvenile Hall, which is about a weeping woman that haunted a juvenile detention center in California. And a lot of the accounts, the children that were there accounted as having long hair and wearing a hooded cape or a veil. Others described her as being young and pretty, being entirely dressed in black or white, or having the bones of her dead children embedded in her backbone. That's what they saw. In Venezuela, so we're going a little bit farther south, they place wooden crosses on their doors to ward off the spirit of a crying woman who dies of sorrow after the death of her children, either by her hands or hands of the family. That's their kind of take on it, but they put wooden crosses to block it. Mexico doesn't do any kind of, that I found, they don't do anything to prevent it. You're just not supposed to look and hide under blankets if she's looking through your doors.
And pray to God you don't hear it, because that's a life of misfortune.
Well, I was reading some stories and they were talking about how if they heard wailing, they would run inside and get under the blankets. Because if she comes looking through windows, she's looking for children. So if you hide and she can't see you and you remain really still, she'll keep moving.
So if you were a creative parent, you would go outside and you would wail and...
Yes.
Where are my kids? Where are my kids?
So there was a story about a woman that they used to have a ditch behind their house and they had to like constantly clear it and everything to keep it moving, and that there were kids that lived around, and that the mom, this is the child telling the story, that his mom would be out there attending it and would start wailing to keep all the neighbor kids away so that they wouldn't come late at night messing around the water. She'd scare them on purpose because they all knew this story to keep them safe. So, let's see.
That's right. I knew that.
So in Mexico, I also said about the crybaby part. This story has also been told to dissuade excessive crying from children. Children associated being called a crybaby. That if they did that, their cries brought La Llorona around.
Oh, it drew her in.
So that was a way to deter from crying. I'll tell you a story. I thought this story was interesting. It's about she's making love to a man. He met a woman wearing a white rebozo and a white petticoat, and to her he began to make love. He urged her, saying, "Throw off your rebozo so I may see your pretty face." And suddenly she uncovered her face, and what he beheld was a bare grinning skull set fast to the bare bones of a skeleton. And while he looked at her, being in horror, there came from her fleshless jaws an icy breath, and the iciness of it froze the very heart's blood in him, and he fell to the earth, heavily in a deathly swoon. When his senses came back to him, he was greatly troubled. In fear, he returned to where... it says Du Passion, and there told what had befallen him, and in a little while his life forsook him and he died.
So she was a butterface.
Yeah, I suppose.
I'm sorry.
In case you don't know, that means everything looks good, butterface.
Butterface.
I thought this was interesting. One last area that I found it in was in Costa Rica. And La Llorona was used as a threat by nannies for children who refuse to sleep. Tradition dates this event to the year 1000 of the Christian era, and consequently, the untiring unfortunate has wept continuously for almost 9 centuries. So she was said to have come about in like 1000 AD. And she has continually wept for 9 centuries, and because of this, her face is marked by 2 scars, which continuously run no longer with tears, but with blood flowing from her eyes. Her hair has not been cut since she committed the gruesome crime of killing her children, and it wraps around her head and covers her face, forming a thick and woolly fullness of locks. And she rakes her more than 1-inch-long nails through the dirt, searching through the dirt and muddy waters of the streams and ditches, searching for her children. Kids. That's the Costa Rican version. Mm-hmm. So, and La Llorona can be seen in media. In TV, she was depicted in the show Supernatural. She was depicted in Grimm.
Grimm. I remember the Grimm one very distinct because it had been that long since I rewatched Grimm. And I remember the La Llorona. I don't remember her being in Supernatural, but apparently she was in the pilot episode. Mm-hmm. Before they had the cool song at the beginning.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought this was fun. She was also depicted by a drag queen in RuPaul's Drag Race in season 16.
Oh, well,
One of them dressed up as her, which I think is interesting.
I know there's several movies out there.
The film The Curse of La Llorona by Warner Brothers in 2019. That's the most widely popular money-wise. There's a song popularized by it was from 1941 by Andres Hinestrosa, which is sung by the grandma in Pixar's Coco in 2016-17.
Oh,
Grandma sings it.
Oh,
remember she doesn't want him to play music.
Yeah,
and she takes it from him. She sings this song.
Ah.
Mm-hmm. And then of course the Tears of La Llorona, the tequila.
I haven't seen Coco because I'm an adult.
So good.
My child is an adult too,
so still a good show.
Yeah, I don't watch Pixar stuff.
It's really good.
And finally, there's a children's game. The game of La Llorona is, while many people might find the story of La Llorona terrifying, most Hispanics know that it is ultimately a part of a child's game. It's not unlike Ring Around the Rosie, a game that many children play in elementary school. The game is called Donde Están Mis Hijos? It's a dark version of hide and go seek.
Oh, that's creepy.
Isn't that creepy?
Mm-hmm. That is a little creepy.
Yeah, I thought that was...
Donde están mis hijos?
Yes, I thought that was quite interesting because, it's kind of scary. So, there's quite a few stories of people talking about where they saw them when they went to go visit. It's always in Mexico that I saw the stories about how they go back. And one of the stories is the dad. He lived in Mexico, a small town of Jalisco.
That is a state.
Yeah, well, apparently he lives in a town. There's a town.
That's where tequila comes from.
The local kids would play a game they called Vampire, which is tag. They used to play it outside of a town in a wooded area at night, which is crazy anyway. Well, then, the game had started and his 2 friends decided to hide together. They ran down to the river near the town and crouched behind some bushes about knee-high. It was then that they started to hear rustling in the water. At first, the dad said, she's telling the story of her dad when he was 7. At first, my dad said they thought it was a cow crossing the river, but couldn't believe that a cow would cross such cold waters. So they all stared at the source of the noise, and that's when they saw what looked to be a woman in a cloak of some sort with her head down so you couldn't see her face. My dad said no one really said anything because they were in shock at what they were seeing. They noticed that person was coming towards them at a gradual pace. My dad said that when he noticed that the figure wasn't actually walking but floating like 1 inch off the ground is when he started to run. They ran back to town to see some of the kids they already back with a shocked look on their faces too. All the kids there saw the same thing. That was the last time they played that game. I can't even imagine.
So it's really interesting to me that it's been around for so long, and it had to have come from somewhere. Mm-hmm. And a lot of myths are based at least partially in fact. Mm-hmm. So I'm just wondering where that really started, what really happened.
Well, I mean, if they push it back to like Aztec history with, different types of mythology, which is where we get a lot of our stories. And then too, this is one of those stories, like you've said, you see it in so many different cultures. Mm-hmm. Like there was other people on this chat that I was reading. They're like, oh, I know that story. That's the same story in something about, there's other countries that they're like, oh, in this country, that's what this is called. So I think it just depends on where you're from, you know?
But it goes back to some sort of like genetic memory in humans.
Almost, yeah. When it's that long like that, when it's
and
been
from
around for that
many
long.
different
Which, like,
cultures
when
around the world.
When we did the episode about vampires, and it's not, just Bela Lugosi, and it's not just Transylvania. It's basically all over the world. There's that, some form of that creature or monster or whatever you will. I mean, so there's got to be something somewhere, that where all of it stemmed from, I guess that's what I'm saying.
Like this person says, in the Philippines, their version is called the White Lady. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's a lot of different places.
But, the Philippines was part of the Spanish Empire for many
many
years, so they got some influence, some of the same cultural
their language
influences.
is very similar, too.
Some of the same cultural influences as in Mexico, because they had the same colonial overlords. That's why there's so many people have Hispanic names in the Philippines.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like Tagalog is almost Spanish. So there's one more story that's a little bit kind of like La Llorona, but it's a little darker. And this is Le Segua.
Le Segua.
Cegua, okay. Le Segua. In parts of Mexico, it's Siguanaba is known. If you break it down, it's a net woman. It encompasses the figurative idea of a woman capturing men in her metaphorical net of attraction. Yeah.
I knew her.
Did you? Because it says Siguanaba is known as Mahsihutli. Nahuatl word that can be broken down to two elements, meaning woman and net. La Segua, or Siguanaba, is a horse-headed monster pretending to be a beautiful woman. Said to be a ghost seducing men by wandering lonely roads needing help, then transforms into a horse-headed monster. Said to be wearing a white dress, sometimes reported as being naked, having long wavy hair, usually blonde or black, and is very voluptuous. The horse head is sometimes said to be a skull of a horse with rotting flesh, sharp teeth, and red eyes in the sockets. Other legends report she has a human skull. She was known to be cold and cruel, reckless, and once cursed, the true monster inside her emerged, killing anyone in her way. One of few Latin American legends that is feared and respected. So people really take her seriously. Legend has it that a young lady lived a life of partying and recklessness, and her mother tried to stop her. The young woman tried to slap her mother, but before she could, a black arm held the punch and cursed her to become the repulsive entity that she is known to be today. Sinister specter that is known for seducing men with her charm, then later scares them when they see her gruesome nature that intends to kill them in a cruel, agonizing manner. She's sometimes said to be found washing clothes by a fountain or body of water, and at first, she's not allowed to be seen initially. Her face is not allowed to be seen initially. Mm-hmm. She's also said to lure children by taking on appearances of a child's mother, and once the child is touched by the Siguanaba, the child is driven mad. She then leads the child into the woods or wilderness and leaves them there lost and insane.
Ugh.
Yeah.
It's dark.
In Mexico, the legend of the Siguanaba is present in almost the entire country, mostly throughout Mesoamerica, where they've called her most popularly Ixtalba, horse-faced woman. Some even relate her to La Llorona. Multiple reports and stories about her with a few common traits. Can only be seen at night in lonely places such as backroads, showing herself to night owls, like not night owls, hoo-hoo, but night owls.
People who hang out at night.
Woo-hoo. Partiers, womanizers, and drunkards. She has an attractive figure but is always seen from behind or walking away, with her face completely covered by either her hair or a large veil. The victim is mesmerized by her beauty, though it's only from behind, and tries to seduce her with compliments and flirtatious ploys.
I know her.
Do you?
Absolutely.
As the man approaches her, she always ignores him and tries to hide her face even more. And when the victim insists, she turns to reveal that she has a horse's head and red eyes. She's said to say things like, "Do I still look beautiful to you?" or "I also like you a lot." The victim may scream in terror and flee, swearing never to drink again. If the victim is touched, they die shortly thereafter, despite attempts by the family to take him to be cleaned or cure him of dread. Her appearance brings a consequence for a specific behavior, such as drunkenness and infidelity, whereas La Llorona, the victims can be anybody.
Right.
So she's said to be trying to cure you of whatever mal behavior you have. The Siguanaba is said to be like a grandmother or mother in that she enforces compliance with the classic recommendations to young men. Don't go out now and behave well. Her face is said to vary, not only as a horse head, but she's also been said to have the head of a dog, pig, old woman, skull, or a bloody or disfigured face. Also, the horse head has been known to vary between a normal horse head, a horse skull, a rotting horse skull, or a horse face with skin. In Spain, the washerwoman is known to be a supernatural being as ghosts that almost always lead to death. They are fuzzy beings who wash clothes on the banks of rivers on moonless nights. They're fuzzy. The specter, often described as an old woman with white hair and dressed in black. Some versions state she takes the form of a beautiful woman before men, but when men approach her, she turns into a monster and then kills them.
She should shave her legs.
Do they do your laundry on request? Like,
wouldn't that be nice?
Fold and iron and everything?
That would be nice.
So washerwoman.
El Salvador, the Siguanaba says... The legend says that the woman, originally called Sinhuet, or beautiful woman, was a peasant girl that ascended to queen using her charms in a witch's brew to lure into marriage Tlaloc's son, Yason, who was a prince. After marriage, her husband went to war, and she had affairs with other men, and has a son out of one of these relationships. The Sinhuet neglected her son by leaving him alone when she went to meet her lovers, being known as a bad mother. To inherit the throne, she concocted a plot to use another magic potion to poison her husband during a festival so she could claim the throne for her lover. Unfortunately, the plan worked too well, and her husband was transformed into a savage giant monster with 2 heads, who ravaged the attendants in the palace's feast.
Con dos cabezas.
The guards struggled and defeated the creature, ending Yason's life. When the husband's father found out about her scheme, he sought the help of the almighty god Teotl, whom condemned and cursed Sinhuet. She would be called Sinuaba, hideous woman. She would be beautiful at first sight, but she would turn into a horrible abomination after luring her victims to isolated gorges. She was forced to wander the countryside, appearing to men who traveled alone at night. She is supposed to be seen at night in the rivers of El Salvador, washing clothes and always looking for her son, who was also cursed to remain a boy for eternity. El Salvador got real deep with theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the washing thing, Guatemala. Siguanaba is said to be encountered washing her hair with a golden bowl and combing her hair with a golden comb. She is said to wander the streets of Guatemala City, luring away men who are in love. The most common variant in these areas is that where the spirit has the face of a horse. In Guatemala, the Siguanaba is also often said to appear to men who are unfaithful in order to punish them.
They really like this whole horse face concept.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it was a woman that came up with this because everyone seems to be about the unfaithful husband. Mm-hmm. You know,
or the drunk,
or the church came up with it.
Do what?
Or the church came up with it. Yeah,
you're right.
There's a Mayan version of Siguanaba from San Juan Comalapa. Describes the woman with enormous glowing eyes and a hoof for a hand. She wears a glittering dress and has very long hair and haunts the local trash dump, frightening disobedient children and drunken husbands.
Drunken husbands. There we go again. I see a pattern here.
A tale from San Juan La Isla relates how a man went to meet his wife who was returning on horseback from El Salvador, and after accompanying her for a while, his wife flung herself from her mount and revealed herself to be the Siguanaba. In this same region, the Siguanaba is said to appear on moonlit nights to horse riders on lonely roads asking for a ride. After riding with her victim for a short while, she reveals her fingernails as fearsome claws, and her face is that of a horse, causing the rider to die of terror. Those that manage to flee find themselves lost in the wilderness.
Jeez.
There's also, I have 2 more countries. Honduras. She's known as La Sucia, which means dirty. Mm-hmm. The dirty. Or Siwa. The most popular story describes her as a beautiful woman denied marriage at the altar because she was unbaptized. See, there's where the church comes in. She then wandered out of mind never removing her increasingly filthy wandered out of her mind, never removing her increasingly filthy wedding dress until she died of heartbreak after her suitor married another woman. In this story, she appears as a beautiful woman who lures men that are wandering drunk by rivers and streams. The men are taken by her beauty and follow her, where she later turns into a filthy horror and leads them to insanity.
She was
filthy whore.
Horror.
Oh, not a hua.
Not a hua. No. And then there's Nicaragua, also known as the Segua or the Seguanaba. In this country, Segua is also more present in rural areas, and her actions are the same as in other countries. She was said to be a witch who was betrayed by a partner, and she's looking for revenge against womanizers and men of the night. She made a pact with the devil in a cornfield, and a ritual was performed that caused her to vomit her soul and begin a transformation, first into a skeletal mare. Then the rest of her body followed in the transformation. Her legs became long and thick like a horse's hind legs. Her feet and arms grew bigger, allowing her speed and strength to chase down and capture her victims and ensure their inability to escape. After this transformation, the Segua would walk around the fields in search of womanizers and night owls to punish their behavior. The Segua would ambush those that are not cautious, playing with them, tormenting them, but death does not come immediately. She then grabs the man, bites his cheek as to mark him as an adulterer, which leaves him scared and crazy. It is said that those she leaves alive are left in a state of idiocy. This is where the Nicaraguan popular saying, "It is played by Segua," is derived. There are also stories where there's not just one Segua, but multiple that act in tandem to catch victims.
Los Seguas.
Menage a trois.
Some versions are more simplified that has the Segua as a beautiful woman that turns into a hideous old woman when the man approaches.
Oh, they're women. Las Seguas. Pardon me.
And then there's also another version of the legend from the Department of Leon, which is in Nicaragua, which describes her as an ugly old woman with long white hair, breasts up to her stomach.
I'm sorry, what?
It says breasts up to her stomach. Maybe it's down, but it said up. And I'm like, maybe we just translated that wrong.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's got to be a translation.
Who laughs mockingly. She traps her victims, said to be men and boys, and then offers them one of her breasts, which terrifies them and drives them to insanity. It is also said that La Segua appears in the trees of Guanacaste under a beautiful veil, and then a womanizer or night owl approaches. She lifts her veil, revealing a decomposing skull. I loved that. She offers her breast, and they go crazy.
I remind you remember that something about Mary, the neighbor lady with the.
Yes.
So the whole witch thing, and she's a witch,
and she's in the cornfield, and she vomits her soul and begins a transformation.
Well, the whole witch, and taking these guys in, and it makes me think of that song Marie Laveau.
Oh, yes.
Where he says, after she makes him $1 million and all, the song, right? Marie Laveau?
Mm-mm.
Oh, my God. Yeah, so she cooks him up a Handsome Jack, I think his name was. He goes into the swamp and he finds Marie Laveau. And
who sings this?
Oh, I'll have to find it.
It sounds like a Tony Joe White song or something. We're talking about going down the
No.
swamp.
This is real popular in the 70s, huge. But anyway, Marie Laveau, he goes to her and she makes him $1 million.
Bear?
Bobby Bear, thank you. And so Bobby Bear sings a song. And Handsome Jack, after he gets his $1 million, he had promised that he would marry Marie Laveau, even though she's not an attractive woman. And he said, Marie Laveau, he said, "You too damn ugly for a rich man like me." So then she wiggled and she giggled and something, and she put a hex on him. But anyway, that's what it makes me think of, this witch that has lured these men in, and then she does a number on them.
She's quite frightful.
Mm-hmm. That's frightful.
The Segua.
Yeah.
Or Seguanaba. Well, this one's the Senhuaba.
But that's like the girls that you pick up in the clubs, back in the day, back when I was wilder and younger and did such
when
things.
The ugly lights come on, they have a horse skull.
I'm telling you, they're good looking when you left that club. You wake up in the morning and they got a horse head, They are not the same thing you left with.
Well, and La Llorona is not so much like some of the movies depict her with like the description that they had where she's got blood running down her face because she's cried so long, but she usually has a veil. Whereas La Segua, she has the rebosa, like she has the veil too. But there was one story
she's
about
got all the hair hiding her
she does,
face, right?
and then she's got the skull. Now there's one story of La Llorona that sounds like La Segua, and that's what kind of led me down that path. I was like, okay, so they're kind of similar in terms of where they're said to be by rivers. One's a washerwoman mainly, and then by rivers, but they're still trying to catch drunkards, night owls, womanizers, and then
ne'er-do-wells.
Yeah,
yes.
so I figured out a bunch from La Segua and La Llorona. If you're a kid, don't play by water at night. I learned that.
Right.
And I've learned that don't be a drunkard
or a womanizer
in Central America or Mesoamerica, whatever.
Mesoamerica. And if you are, don't wander alone.
And don't be an adulterer. And don't ride on a horse. And don't go near the water.
Yeah.
Okay. I got it.
I mean, if you're going to womanize and all that, don't walk alone on some roads.
Or she will bite you on the face and everybody will know you've been slinging.
The scarlet letter becomes the bite from La Segua.
You've been slinging chorizo. Mm-hmm. Spicy chorizo.
What was it? The Blanco Boudin or something?
Boudin Blanco, yeah.
Boudin Blanco.
Yeah.
No, Boudin Blanc.
Boudin Blanc.
He was French.
Yeah.
That was in Los Sopranos.
Los Sopranos.
La Sopranos.
I keep seeing all these Spanish words.
Yeah, he was. It was when Artie had made that loan to that guy, and his sister was flirting with him.
Oh yeah.
And
the French guy.
And then he went to try to go collect. The dude whooped his ass, and then he had to have Tony come and step in.
Yeah. But no, the sister was flirting with him, and his wife walks up and says, "Oh, so what now? Y'all trying to play hide the
Boudin Blanc?
Boudin Blanc. Yeah.
Or you're getting Boudin Blanc. Yeah, something like that.
I had Boudin balls last night. Leftover Boudin balls.
Did you?
Put them in the air fryer.
I like Boudin. It's good. But, I mean, I don't know if this story makes you want to try Tears of La Llorona tequila, but apparently the bottles are really cool.
Yeah.
But I think maybe that's probably what you pay for. I hear they're very good, but the tequila is very good. Actually, the bottle is kind of plain.
It's brown.
It is brown.
You got a little Mexican flag, I think, on the little...
I was thinking it was painted or something. I don't know what I'm thinking of.
I mean, it's a cool looking bottle. It's not fancy.
Yeah, it's one of those old school type top looking things. That's interesting. The
cork.
No,
I would hope so at that price.
No, it's got the little lever kind.
Oh, yeah.
Cork stopper.
Like Giratana has.
What is it that used to come? Some waters come like that.
Yeah, there's
the little metal.
There's that beer, that German beer. Whatever. Anyway. It's Dutch, actually. It's not German.
Not Dutch Girl.
No. It's not St. Paul. What is it? It's shit. There's a bottle of it in my
Old Kelly green glass bottle, beer bottle. That's what I'm. It's the Old Kelly green glass. Oh, I see it. It's right here. Grolsch.
Yeah. Grolsch.
So yeah, that's what I've learned. You don't want to be an adulterous husband and drink.
Correct. And you don't want to be a crybaby.
And you don't want to be a crybaby.
You'll bring her about, and you don't want to walk around water.
And you don't want to go to water, especially at night. Mm-hmm. Because that's
and if
when
you do hear her, hide.
Yeah. Under the blankets.
Under the blanket.
Because she's peeking in windows.
Don't be looking for her.
She's a peeping Tom, voyeuristic ghost that looks for kids to kidnap. And she's also a kidnapper.
Yeah, and you will die.
Yeah.
If you see her.
Some horrible death. Or wander in the wilderness with having lost your mind.
Yeah. Then there was talks about how that's not a ghost. Ghosts don't do that. That's more of a demon. And then people are like, that's just a legend. And people are like, well, we've seen her. We've heard her. But the Mexican culture tends to be a lot more supernatural, superstitious. Hello.
How much teleport have you had?
God, not enough to be slurring.
I mean, I'm not superstitious, but I might be a little stitious.
Yeah, just not super.
Just not super.
But they're into that.
Here's the thing that I always say.
Spiritual.
You can scoff and you can laugh at that kind of stuff and you can make fun of it and poke fun at it until you experience something.
Until you see it.
Yeah.
You can laugh about flying saucers until see one.
I don't think anybody laughs about that anymore.
I mean, there are some out there that still think it's BS, but you can laugh about ghosts until you see one.
I get made fun of about Bigfoot a lot by certain people.
Well, I don't make fun of you about that.
There's no one in this room.
I don't make fun of Bigfoot. I think it's kind of cool. We're going up to Bigfoot country next month. Again.
Really? Where are you going?
Beaver's Bend.
What?
Beaver's Bend.
Oregon?
No.
In the Oregon territory?
No, that's Oklahoma.
Oh, that's Oklahoma. Y'all go to Oklahoma a lot.
Well, usually once. We've been going twice a year. This last year we went twice.
Yeah,
and
we just went like last month.
Yeah, we go every Labor Day.
Yeah, Labor Day's a thing up there. We go rent cabins.
Labor Day weekend, I went to the liquor store. That's about it.
But we found that we've had fun going up there in October for our anniversary when we don't decide to take on Cabo and all of that.
Cabo Wabo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cabo.
Well, for one thing, I don't have Cabo body right now, so that didn't sound like a lot of fun. And now, supposedly you can't vape and smoke. You can't do.
Yeah, there's some kind of anti-vaping law in Mexico. I don't know.
I'm assuming you're talking about a smell. It's him.
We got him on gas. He's here on gassy day. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he might be.
I don't know if they read.
He might be sleeping alone tonight.
If they change that or not. But I remember for a while they had passed where you couldn't vape.
Like a $300 fine.
Yeah, you can't.
I mean, it's 300 pesos. You'd be like, fuck it. But 300 American.
I don't know what it is. I know it's a fine though if you're caught using tobacco products or vape or anything like that.
It's weird, but they let cartels run their country.
Yeah, 100% smoke-free area. Well, the thing is that there were so many. It's so much tourism. Like, are they literally going to tell the tourists you can't do that?
I don't know how much tourism there is anymore. I mean, it's.
Oh, I'm sure it's still.
Especially after
it's still booming down there.
After El Mayo got locked up last month or whatever.
It didn't affect Cabo though.
No, but that's certainly going to ramp up violencia in Mexico.
Yeah, it says that you're prohibited to take e-cigarettes and refills into Mexico, and it will be confiscated and your luggage will be scanned.
Yeah, unlike at Globe Life Field where they don't give a shit.
Right, yeah.
Just to circle back.
Well, they probably care. It's just that they didn't care when we walked through.
Nope. Nor any of the other people around us who had.
Oh, yeah.
So apparently it's now illegal to smoke anything virtually everywhere with the exception of a private residence. They don't even sell cigarettes anymore.
I guess they just want to kill tourism.
Because, I mean, what is the number one thing? People that don't smoke, but what do they smoke? When they drink.
Oh, yeah,
And what are you doing in Mexico? You're drinking.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody.
Do you think they're going to tell that cartel sicario, Lo siento, no fumar?
Yeah, right?
Probably not. But the tourists don't tell that, but they won't. Yeah.
There's another one that says you'll have no trouble traveling with your vape as long as you obey the rules that cover traveling with liquids and batteries, which is what I figured it probably is, that they're not going to have a big deal. Not that that's an issue that doesn't stop us from going to Mexico. It's just we haven't. It's an involved trip to plan, whereas...
Yeah, Oklahoma's not. Busy. It's like rent a...
Oh, guess what came in the mail?
Get an Airbnb and go.
What came in the mail earlier this week?
What?
My passport.
Your Oh, that's
I have a passport.
Where were you planning to go? Anywhere you want?
I just wanted to have it so that I could. That it wasn't something that had to be that figured into a plan to go somewhere. Was
if you had
I got to make time to get the passport.
If he has to bug out for some reason.
Well, I mean, you have to. If you don't have one, then you got to add that 6 weeks or whatever on top of your plan. Now I can just grab and go.
Yeah, I know they tell you that, but it really doesn't take that long.
No, it took about a month.
It does.
Yeah, mine took about a month.
Expedite, it's like 2 to 3 weeks if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine took about a month without expediting.
I did learn, though, that also if you're coming, which you have it for 10 years, so you're good to go. But for us, they will not let you travel internationally if your passport is to expire within 4 months of travel, 3 months of travel.
Something like that, yeah.
So you have to plan for that.
Starting next year, they won't let you fly domestically unless you have that little gold star on your driver's license. That real ID star.
That's right. That's why
I
everybody.
had that.
Yeah, you do. That's why they started making everybody go in. That have had it for longer than a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
But
I don't know where I'm gonna go, but I'm gonna go somewhere.
I want to go to Transylvania still. I want to go to the.
That's not at the top of the list.
What was that place? Hanoi? No. Hibachi.
Hoya Bachu.
Hoya Bachu.
Forest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not at the top of my list.
Well,
I'd like to.
Ireland, Italy,
England,
Greece.
Scotland, Normandy. See the beaches. Not the lounging beaches, but the landing beaches.
I knew what you meant.
Stuff like that.
I want to do an Ireland, Scotland trip. I want to do a Rome, Italy trip, and I want to do a Greece trip, and I'd like to do Iceland.
Ooh, Iceland, yeah.
That would be fun.
Paris would be nice for a day or two.
Yeah.
I there's some places I want to eat, and then
I want some pastries. Yeah.
I want a jamembert from a street vendor.
Okay, so Alyssa, you told us about La Llorona and La Segua.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that right?
La Segua. Mm-hmm.
La Segua.
And La Llorona. Mm-hmm.
And John and I drank Henry McKenna Bottled and Bond
10-year
barrel select or
10-year single barrel.
Single barrel.
And as much as I would have loved to have had Tears of La Llorona to go with my story, I was actually drinking Irish whiskey Tullamore.
Nobody drank tequila. We're talking about this.
I know, right?
I know, I just, there's some days where you go and you're just like, what do I want to drink? And you start smelling something and it's like, tequila just ain't it today. Whiskey's it today.
I get it.
That's how I felt.
All right.
Alrighty. Thanks for joining us, kids.
Y'all have a good night.
Night-night.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
Adios, amigos.
Ah.